All right, so let's get started here. I hope you guys have had a good this is Wednesday, and I hope that you have found a way to stay warm. And I would like to hear what you're doing to stay warm and what you're doing to maybe try to conserve some of the electricity in your house. Last night we did have some power outages across the area because of the cold weather. I think in general, though, the power grid is pretty good. But, again, tonight there's a possibility that there could be some sporadic power outages here and there because of the excessive use across the entire Lone Star and Sooner State here. Um, with these cold temperatures, everybody's trying to stay warm. And I don't know about you guys, but at least at my house, my heater is having a real difficult time. My heat pump does not work at all with weather like this. Matter of fact, my heat pump doesn't really work at all once it gets below 35. It's basically useless. I don't even. I guess people have different opinions on their HVAC system and whatnot, but I'm just not a fan of my heat pump. It just doesn't do a good job of heating my house unless it's not just if it's cool outside, the heat pump does well. But if it's really cold outside, a heat pump is useless. So auxiliary heat cuts on, and it's very expensive. And my auxiliary heat's having to run a lot. I've got my temperature in my house set on 59 degrees during the day right now. That's because I'm not there. My wife is there, but she's kind of in this cold weather. She hibernates, so she stays cooped up in the room there, bundled up. So, I think she stays plenty warm. And then at night, I'll bump it up a little bit to like the 62, 63-degree range. And then I run a bit of um, a little space heater. It's one of those energy efficient space heaters. It's not one of those old school. As a matter of fact, if you knock it down, it cuts off, and it's infrared heat, and it does a good job of heating up my room there. And that's what I've been doing to try to conserve electricity. I know this morning the auxiliary heat was running. Oh, it probably ran for 2 or 3 straight hours. So I just hate it. Makes me want to throw up to think about what my electric bill is going to look like for this cold period. Whenever I saw these cold spells coming, I'd be excited about them. To a certain extent, I didn't like the cold weather, but we don't get to experience it that often. So I was like, yeah, it's kind of, I don't mind doing it now. But now when I see these cold temperatures coming our way, all I see is a big, big, fat electric bill. So that does not make me happy. But what does make me happy is we're now getting into the latter parts of February, and that just means that the really cold weather isn't going to last too much longer. Now we could stay cold into the month of March, and I do think that March could be cold again. I think we could at least the first part of the month could be cold, but at least in general, right now, in most years, your cold spells aren't quite as long lasting as we get into March. So hopefully that's the case now. All right. So we're up to, well, actually, as of 7 p.m., it's not quite 7 p.m. The temperature has been below freezing for 35 consecutive hours. That will be as of 7 o'clock. So with that said, we can expect this to continue for a while longer. I mean, I'm expecting these temperatures to remain below freezing again tomorrow. I don't expect temperatures to rise above freezing, and that'll be the case again tomorrow night. No rising above freezing then. But Friday, I do expect. So we're probably less than 48 hours away now from getting temperatures finally above freezing. And that probably takes place some point in time late Friday morning or early mid-afternoon on Friday here. And that would put us about 34, 35 degrees. And that'll be very welcome. It'll never have felt as good as it does, then. Then by the weekend, things look a whole lot better. So let's talk about, we don't have a lot of people on here, and that's kind of weird. Usually when even when I was doing Weather After Dark, of course, I've changed the name of that now. It's going to be something else. We would have, on average about 30 to 35, 40 people on there. But when we have weather we're talking about like this, we usually have way more people than this. And I don't know what's going on with it, why our numbers are so low. I can't help but feel that it's just, Facebook, keep it. It's just I use a third party app here to send out the information here. I think that what happens is that that Meta and probably YouTube and whatnot probably doesn't like it, and the algorithms pick up on it, and they probably don't get the information out there to you. But I've known that for a while now, but this is the way we have to do it. We have to use applications like this. If not, you're not able to do lives at one time. And, that really, kind of handicaps us a bit. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit more about what's going on here with this cold spell. Let's get into that. Let's look at some lows this morning here. And this morning, we had 5 in Lawton, 5 in Duncan. These are reporting stations. Here in the this part of the country, you don't have reporting stations in a lot of these towns and communities here. It's like Quanah, you don't have it there. Seymour, Throckmorton, Jacksboro, those areas, or Henrietta. But you got them in Wichita Falls were 8. Graham was 8. Bowie was 8. 10 in Vernon this morning. 7 in Childress. And if we take a look at some cold hard facts from this cold spell here, this morning we were at 8. That was the low temperature here in the Falls. The real feel was -12. The high for today was 24. That is one of those kind of weird record low high temperatures. The coolest reading on this date prior to today was 30, set back in 1929. Now we're not in record low territory, which I'm kind of surprised on these record low highs. 2021 was the year that we were setting all the records, just breaking all kind of cold weather records here. Even though by this point in time in the game, we had started to modify some during the day, but nighttime was still low. So our record lows at night, still 2021, still down close to 0. Remember, we still had snow on the ground at this point in time. But during the daytime hours anyway, at least this go round, we're not seeing temperatures rising a whole lot. And we're getting really cold at night. We're not seeing the record low temperatures. So, I don't have to tell you what to do now. It's just a little reminder. You know what's going on here. Drip faucets, open your cabinet doors there to your plumbing. Pets should have already been inside by now. Avoid exposure to the wind. Dress in layers, 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 as Cameron Lindsay like to say. Stay hydrated. Of course, whenever you're in a situation like this, your body has to work a little bit harder to stay hydrated. So, I mean, you can drink some sodas if you want to. I like the carbonation of a Sprite. I was sick on Sunday and Monday, so I've been drinking some Sprite to kind of help ease my stomach, even though my stomach feels better now, but I'm still not real ready to really dive into a lot just yet. You should not drink alcoholic beverages. It's good to drink Powerades, Gatorades, any of those packages they have with the electrolytes in them. Whatever you need to do to stay hydrated, you know what to do with that. And I also just always check on the elderly. I know that may sound kind of strange because, we probably have already done that. You probably already, made sure they had a place to stay warm and stay a good way to stay warm. But remember, sometimes, you just need to check on them, make sure they're doing what they need to do to stay warm. Make sure that their heating elements are in safe places. Make sure that they got the temperature set just right. You remember, my parents are getting to that elderly age now, and they're not quite elderly, but they're pretty old. They're up there in the 80s now. So, they tend to get colder more so than, a guy my age here. So when we talk about really big areas of cold weather, really big areas of cold weather we look at, and I'm just baffled by this. I'm literally baffled by it. I have 14 people watching me on this. So what are we going to do when we get to severe weather season and we have 14 people watching us? We don't have the numbers out there. I'm just extremely concerned about that. I don't know what's going on to cause that. I'm going to have to really look into it. And I know you're not getting the notifications because Facebook doesn't send them out like they used to. And it's probably because I'm using a third-party app. So I may have to get away from using it. I don't know what to do. So I'm going to walk over to the wall and talk a little bit about this graphic here. So give me a second. I got to turn this graphic here. So give me a second. I got to turn. All right. So I had to switch audio sources. So hopefully you can still hear me here. It may not be quite as loud as before. So we're going to walk over and talk a little bit about this graphic here. So when we talk about cold weather, we talk about the barometric pressure and temperatures here. So when these areas of cold weather, when it gets cold like this, it originates in the coldest part or one of the coldest regions of the entire planet Earth, and that's back there in Siberia. And when you get this cold air that builds up, the cold air is heavy. It's real heavy and real dense. A lot of people say, "Oh no, hot air feels real heavy. You walk outside, it just feels heavy." No, that's actually the opposite. Cold air is real buoyant and light. It rises. warm air is real buoyant and light, it rises. Cold air is real heavy and it sinks. So in the lowest atmosphere, I'm talking about down here at the Earth's surface where you and I live, not up there in the sky where the planes fly, but down here where we live, the pressure is real high because that air is sinking. That cold air is just sinking. So you get a lot of these high pressure gradients across. That's what's creating this wind. This is a gigantic area of cold air, gigantic area of high pressure, and we're still kind of on the front side of it here. So clockwise flow around that. So we're still getting north and northeasterly winds down our way, and that's still bringing the cold air to the south. So as long as this is sitting here and continuing to build down southward here, you're going to see a barometric pressure rise. So if you suffer from weather-related illness, I'm talking about rheumatoid arthritis, some autoimmune diseases, anything like that, especially maybe migraine headaches, you're going to continue to suffer as this high pressure builds in tonight into tomorrow. Tomorrow it should be located somewhere here over the central or maybe kind of just kind of east of central part of the United States here. And then as we head into Friday, it's beginning to move off to the east. And as it does so, the pressure won't be quite as high. It'll actually begin to drop again a little bit. So if you're suffering, you're going to suffer, I think, really going to suffer a lot tonight, tomorrow, and before maybe things get a little bit better on Friday here. And of course, when you look at this barometric pressure, there are the numbers. This is measured in millibars here, 1030 millibar way down here in South Texas, all the way to 1044 up there in the Dakotas. And this is actually smaller than it was. This was into the 1050, 1060 range at one time. That's huge. And it covers a large area, and underneath it you can see that cold air across the United States here. Matter of fact, it's colder here than it is in Alaska, but that's just the way it works. When it gets super cold here, Alaska usually warms up. So we've had frigid air in place over us here, and we're looking at some clouds. That clouds actually broke up for a little while, but they're building back in. And you know, when you deal with cold air like this, oftentimes, and this is what we call shallow cold air at the Earth's surface, oftentimes the clouds get locked in, and it's hard to get rid of them. And even if they do go away, sometimes they come back. We got some high clouds coming in. There's a disturbance moving through the Rockies tonight here. So we do got some more clouds around. I don't think it'll be totally cloudy, but we do see some sunshine tomorrow. This is a live look in the Lawton. This is 14 degrees. It feels like -1. And this is the falls. Looks like our lens cap here probably has some ice on it still. It's 17, and it feels like 1 here at this hour. If you look at lows tonight, they're going to be back down in the single digits in most locations. 3 Lawton, 8 in the Falls, 8 Archer City, 7 in Graham, 12 Bridgeport, 4 Alta, 6 in Frederick, 7 in Vernon. And then tomorrow, and when you look at real field temperatures overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning, looks like those real field temperatures, which in some instances are already below 0. And remember, this is model-derived stuff here. So we may be below 0 prior to midnight, but looks like most of us will be below 0 in that real field range after midnight into the very early morning hours here on Thursday. There's your actual temperatures running there in the single digits later on tonight. Let's say by morning, again, here in the Falls, will be very close to 8 a.m. So we start off single digits in the morning, lunchtime temperature about 18, and in the afternoon, kind of like today. We got to 24 today. I'm going to go about 27 tomorrow for the high. Most places mid to upper 20s. I might even throw a 30 down here towards Throckmorton. But another really cold day in store. Our area lake, under the small little bodies of water have already frozen up. But I would expect some ice to build up on Lake Wichita. And this isn't like 2025 where we were cold for 10 plus days like this. I expect the ice that builds up on Lake Wichita and our area lakes, the bigger bodies of water that is, any ice that does build up will be thin. So don't walk out on it because that's not safe. I know in 2021 you could because that ice was thicker. This is totally different this go around. So just don't take a chance with it. So we're looking at there's your cold high pressure tomorrow. It's just building down on top of us. It remains frigid. And then as we head into Friday, it moves off to the east here. So the pressure does begin to fall some here, and that allows for warming trends and temperatures. Remember, when you got cold air, and this I shouldn't say remember, I should tell you that and describe. That's what the Facebook Lives are for and YouTube's Lives are for, and anything I do on video is for. I got more time to talk about it. I try to educate you and kind of tell you what's going on here so you better understand it. So whenever you're dealing with real cold air like this, like I say, it's dense and it's heavy. It can't be pushed out of the way by warm air because warm air is too light. The only thing a warm air can do is just go up and over it. So cold air has to move out of the way, and it's that high pressure, it moves out of the way finally. But sometimes it's slow to do so. So I do expect cold weather into Friday, even though I do expect temperatures to go above freezing. But by the weekend, we should get out of it. There's a little system here, maybe late Saturday night, early Sunday, that may bring a little shower, but don't expect much out of that. So any rain chances, precipitation chances at this time look really, really low. Of course, we're almost to getting to the month of March. We're not. Sorry about that. I had to mute that. So because I'm using multiple audio sources here. If not, I'm going to sound like I'm echoing here. But as we get into March, we'll start seeing transition. But right now, my weather, and we'll talk about this some next week with our Severe Weather Awareness Week. We did it the last week in February this year. So what we'll do is we get into March, I do expect some pretty chilly weather because that polar vortex isn't going anywhere. It's still dislodged. It's still up there spinning. And while we do see some moderating temperatures early in March, there could still be some more shots of cold air through early and middle parts of March here. So we may not be done with it yet. And but the good news is with cold air like that dropping in, we're probably not going to see much in the way of severe weather, at least early on in the month of March. It might pick up some later, but at least early on, probably not much in the way of that. Of course, as we get into the month of April and May, things begin to change. And of course, I'll have my complete severe weather outlook for you coming up on. I'm sorry here. I'm in a brain freeze here. I'll have my complete severe weather outlook coming up next Friday on News Channel 6. So I think it's a special. It runs at 6:30. Of course, I need to double check that. So yeah, when I walk over to the wall, it's just a different source of audio. And I think that's the reason why you can't hear me as well. I probably need to do some changes with that. So, well, all right, everybody. Thanks for watching this live update here. And everybody have a great evening. Just find ways to stay warm here. I'd like to thank you once again for joining me. And also thanks to Service